matters. So how did you stop yourself is my question, because you're very mindful. I've seen you, the few moments I've spent with you, or whether we've messaged, it's always been wonderful. How did you stop yourself from letting that pain make you cold or make you harsh to that person also?
I think it made me more kind and empathetic. And you know, I also grew up in a job that's like heavy on gossip, or can be, and rumor and hearsay and stuff. And I found that in my life, everybody loves an interesting story. I mean, all of our ears perk up when we're like, think we're going to hear something a little, you know, salacious, a little crazy, a little something. It's something to kind of marvel at. But I realized that I am not a gossiper, you know, like I'll keep your secrets. And it was sort of the same thing. I grew up around a lot of people who also kind of talk trash about people. And I was like, I do not want to be around that, nor be that person. So it also made me like gravitate towards people who didn't do that. And it's funny you said, because, you know, we get busy and we have a lot of responsibilities. So I can get sort of intense, or it's seemingly short-tempered because I'm tired and I'm trying to kind of barrel through things.
Yeah,
like
me too.
You do?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, that is so refreshing to hear.
100%. Like, I asked my wife.
Because I was going to ask.
my wife on the show.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love your wife so much.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I mean, you two were put on this planet. Like, you are Freud's imago theory. Like, two people who look alike are drawn to each other in a mirror-like sort of look in the water, you know, and see your own reflection, and not based in narcissism. It's based in like a familiarity. No, it's a beautiful theory. And no, so in those moments, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I seem a little curt, a little short-tempered, a little intense. I would say 99.9% of the time, I never think I'm right for being that way. And I will find myself maybe justifying here or there, and even as I'm doing it, I'm like, you are so full of crap right now. I really hold myself so critically accountable for wanting to go, okay, well, then you can't take this water back and put it in the bottle. It's spilled all over the floor. So how about next time, try to remember something about this that can be like a trigger so that you can handle it differently. I think so much of my adult life is becoming about the mastery of reaction. Knowing
it's beautiful.
I'm the only thing I can control. I cannot control. And I work really deeply with this therapist who I respect. He's honestly one of the smartest individuals I've ever met.
Wow.
Like, I'm talking like one hand, like a true voice. And he quit me at one point. Like, that's how, you know, high road this human being is. He doesn't deal in toxicity. If you're not getting better, he's not feeding off of that and thinking, well, this person's going to stay with me for many years. He's like, our work cannot actually occur here, so I'm going to step away. And I was like, God, you're good. I love you even more. I respect you so much. And I fought to break a cycle and a pattern that he just, after 8 years, was like, I can't do this anymore. And it was drinking. And when I was about 2 years, and I'm not sober, I don't work a program, I have alcohol in my house, like I party with my friends, you know, so I'm not, when I say I don't drink alcohol, it's just like a one-lane choice of realizing something that didn't work for me. I thought I would master my whole life. I don't. I can't. So after I had stopped for about 2 years, because drinking was like a symptom of many problems, but it was the thing that was not allowing me to get to those next places, I asked him, will you please reconsider taking me back? I've put in 2 years. I'm not stopping. I'm feeling really good. This isn't for anyone else. It's not for you. It's for me. I know that's what you've always wanted it. If you do things for other people, it's so dangerous. They can just take it away. It's a burden. It's, you know, there's no ownership in doing things for other people when it comes to that really crucial work. because I love doing things for other people. It's just a matter of, and I think I'm a total codependent. Like with my kids, like, yeah, they're my whole source of life, joy, happiness, and, motivation. So be it. I'm a codependent. Who cares? Like, but I'm also my own individual. They're their own individuals. And we've got to take care of our side of the street. So I asked, could we go back to working together, and we did, and now we're doing the best work we've done in 10 years.
Wow.
And a lot of the work I do with Barry now, so much of this word comes up, which is inner. And that's not something, even though I think I was really in touch with spirituality when I was a teenager, it was so much a part of like my salvation and raising myself and getting emancipated at 14 and living on my own and being an adult my whole life and not having any semblance of like what society says kids are supposed to do with like go to bed on time, go to school, like eat a balanced meal, all that stuff. Like I just didn't have that in my universe. But I love when Barry uses the word inner, this rich inner life I'm trying to build that is the place in which I can tap into reaction, processing, control, all of those things. It's like there's really kind of only one place that truly can take place, and it's the inner world. And I have spent my life being an extrovert and going outwards, and that can be being a love junkie or being someone who loves to be playful and call it perform or just put myself out there, or affection or jokes and humor or my love of human beings. Like it's all out. And this is the first time that I feel like I'm really much more excited and ready to do this inner work. And it's cool because it is the place where you can do so much more, because a lot of those things you want to do with the outside world are not really possible, are not really attainable, like control, like, changing the way things are, or someone out there, or a situation, or the world at large. These things are not controllable, but inside your world, inside your inner self, there's much to be done.
Yeah, but it sounds like with this overanalyzing, reflective, self-mastery work that you're doing, it sounds like at the same time as that, there's also a sense of self-forgiveness to be able to move on, especially from knowing that as a child, you wouldn't have known about the inner in that depth. You wouldn't have had the tools. You were exposed to things as a child that 99% of children wouldn't be exposed to. So there also seems to be a sense of forgiveness for today and also forgiveness for that time. Is that, how would you see that?
It's funny because I do think a lot of kids go through just crazy stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
When I was in an institution for 2 years that my mom put me in, it was an adult ward too, but it was also a kid ward. So all these other kids I was in with, I was like, well, they're going through it too. Whatever their roads, took them to, self-destruction or abuse of a substance or hurting themselves or being out of control to the point where their parents didn't know what to do with them. A lot of that is usually cries for help and probably not their fault always.
Yes, of course.
But I was like, well, I guess I'm not alone, and, trying to, I'm not the only one who are experiencing what we see as extraordinary circumstances, especially at a young age. They're heightened and they seem wilder to adults. You're 14 or 13 and you're doing these things. Like, oh, if you were in your 20s, I guess that'd be more normal.
Wow, that's such a good point. Yeah, I've never thought about it like that. Yeah,
and then I think about kids who are, challenged economically or are trying to get, in somewhere, or they have to take care of their families, or they're latchkey kids, or they're trying to get into this country, or they're, doing things that, like, once again, we're saying, oh, this is not what children are supposed to do. So I'm like convinced that I'm one of many that just kind of had stuff to deal with that we wish ideally kids didn't have to deal with, but a lot of them are.
Yes.
I just was never taught like what forgiveness was of myself. But I've learned along the way far ahead of self-forgiveness, because this is a very new concept for me. So it's super fresh. It's like an open wound, and it is not sewed up shut yet by any means. I need stitches and some isopropyl. Like, I'm working on it. But I always was forgiving of other people. I grew up in a very unjudgmental landscape, you know, like for better or worse, Hollywood is real open-minded. It's real liberal. And I don't mean politically. I just mean like artistic people are kind of like a live and let live group, which is super cool. And that was great growing up. I was like, oh, so we can just kind of let people be, oh, okay, like cool. They're not wrong for being that way. They're just eccentric, or that's their lifestyle choice, or that's their orientation, or whatever. It was great to grow up that way. I was always forgiving of other people and like open-minded for like whoever they are. I realized later in life that it turns out that I thought forgiveness was a gift to someone else. You forgiving them was giving them a gift. I suppose it is. I never knew that there is an irony of all ironies of that you are finally liberated. And you can't forgive to get to the liberation because it's fake and you don't get the reward. You have to truly, literally go,
yes.
I, with every part of me, authentically and without wanting anything in return, I'm not even thinking about myself. I just forgive. I forgive you. I forgive this. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, and now I feel really good. How weird. But if I've ever tried to forgive something to feel better, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. No, it's not a technique. It's not a button.
No, it's not a technique. It's this true. I also found the ultimate form of liberation is change. When you like stopping drinking from me, and again, not sober, like that's not it. I just don't drink. It's the only thing that's my lifestyle choice. I was so held back by this one thing my entire life that I swore I would master, that why wouldn't I be convinced of that I'm not capable of change? Because I couldn't change it. So I'm just a failure in my inner voice and narrative. My only evidence in front of me is you're not capable of change because you haven't changed this thing. And then once I did, it was like, finally, I believe that I'm capable of change. And that's, these things are symptoms. They're not the only problem. You can't like stop something that isn't working for you and everything else falls into place. There's a lot of work around it that has to be done. And Barry's point wasn't like, if you stop drinking, all your problems are going to go away. No. He's like, we just can't get to the work because this shame and guilt and like pattern it's going to prevent us from getting to the next level. So I'm out. And I was just like, God, I love this so much. And I knew he was right. Yeah,
your therapist quitting on you is that's pretty inspiring for you.
I know, because most therapists are like, oh, you're still broken? Fantastic. I'll see you next week. I still have a job. And so I think if you're seeking guidance, wisdom, therapy, spiritual leadership, whatever you are seeking out in this world, if you sense that person continues to feed and not help you grow and is fine with you staying in the same place, I don't think that's a good sign.
Yeah, but I love that emphasis you're placing, that it wasn't ever about the external change. It wasn't just about, if you stop drinking alcohol, then all your problems are solved. It was going on this inner journey for